Click pins. You click them on, you click them off. How do they work? And what creates that distinctive click? There are many types of click-to-write pens. A simple latch mechanism locks this ink cartridge in place. It's released by pressing a button. And in this pen, an angled tooth cam locks or releases the ink cartridge. And here, a triangular cam that tilts from side to side to lock and release the cartridge. In this video, I detail the operation of this pen, a Parker Jotter introduced in 1954. It's one of the first retractable pens. Now listen carefully and you'll notice that it emits 4 clicks. A click when I push the button, a second click when I release it, and then when I push the button to retract the ink cartridge, a third click, and release, a fourth click. To understand why these clicks occur, let's look inside. The pen's barrel houses an ink cartridge with a ballpoint tip, 2 springs, one at the top and one at the bottom, and a plastic tube which is press fit inside the metal barrel of the pen so that it's fixed in place. Inside that tube is where all the action happens. A Parker Pen Company patent describes the 3 parts that produce the pen's click: the cam body, the tubular plunger, and the stop members. The cam body is affixed to the top of the replaceable ink cartridge. During operation, this cam body rotates and slides up and down. The tubular plunger does not rotate. It only slides up and down. The stop members are shown as separate pieces here, but keep in mind they're part of the press-fit plastic tube and so never move. The pen can be in either of 2 positions: the retracted non-writing position where the tip of the cartridge is inside the barrel, or in the extended writing position where the cartridge's tip projects from the barrel. To see how the plunger, cam body, and stop members interact, I've broken the cam movements into 8 steps. First, push the button to drive the plunger and the cam body down the barrel until the top of the cam body drops below the fixed stop members. Second, remember that the spring at the bottom of the pen pushes the cam body up and so keeps it in contact with the plunger. That axial spring force shoves the cam body up the barrel, but also rotates the cam body because it mates with the plunger at an angle. The cam body rotates 45 degrees until it strikes the surface of the plunger. That very fast motion creates the first click. Third, I release the button and a spring between the plastic tube and the lip of the plunger forces it to the top of the pen. When the tips of the plunger's fingers clear the cam body rotates another 45 degrees until it strikes the blue stop members. That's the second click of the pen. Fourth, I release the button completely, and now the cam body remains locked in place. It cannot rotate nor move upward, and so the pen is ready to write. To retract the pen, I press the button to drive the plunger into the cam body and to push it past the stop members. The cam body rotates until it strikes the plunger. That's the third click. I release the button so the top spring forces the plunger upward. When the plunger fingers clear the cam body, it slides and rotates 45 degrees until it strikes into the stop members. That's the fourth click. Once the button is completely released, stop members slot into the cam body so that when the plunger moves up, the cam body moves with it to retract the ink cartridge. In extending and retracting the ink cartridge, the cam body rotates 45 degrees 4 times, or 180 degrees total. The cam body has 180 degree rotational symmetry, so that the next extend retract cycle repeats the same sequence of steps. This particular model of pen has sold over 750 million units since its debut. It took a team of 66 people to design this pen, and although it's a mechanical marvel, the Parker Company worried that this retractable ballpoint ink pen would damage their reputation. Parker pens were fountain pens. And so the company left off their iconic arrow clip. But within 4 years, the pen earned its arrow and inspired other pen makers to design click and lock mechanisms, all different to avoid patent infringement. The clicking of a pen demonstrates how a single engineering problem can have many engineering solutions, ranging from robust to cost-efficient to unique. I'm Bill Hammack, the Engineer Guy.
Going to talk about the anatomy of the fountain pen. So I decided to grab this lovely pen. I've not reviewed this pen yet, but I will. So let me see if I can maybe zoom out, make it easier to focus on these things. Okay, so the box comes with the cartridge, nothing underneath here. We'll talk about this in another review. But yeah, the anatomy of the pen. Very nice, lovely Pilot pen, the Metropolitan, in a nice matted finish. So matte, shiny, the dotted one. Anyway, so I guess let's start with the important bits of a fountain pen. This is what makes the fountain pen right. This part here is the nib. Let me see, can I focus on the nib? I don't know if this is focusing or not. Horrendous. Maybe if I put it down here. Bloody hell. Can you tell this is not a camera for video? Anyway, so that's the nib. This is the nib unit. The nib has the tipping material on the tip of the pen. It's usually iridium or some sort of hard metal. That's the tipping material. There's the nib slit from the hole. That's the breather hole, and then you have the nib slit. And on each side of the slit are the tines. So some pens have flexible tines. And when you press on them, you see the two tines like the tines of a fork. They flex out. Like for instance with the Ahab. So when you flex them, see, regular writing and then flex it out. One day I'll review the Ahab, I promise. Anyway, back to the Pilot. Tine, breather hole. The sides are called the wings of the nib. Then you have the feed. This would be the feed right here. It's usually either plastic or ebonite or some sort of rubbery material. Inside the feed, if you pull the feed out, which you can easily pull out in this pen, you've got the ink channel right here, where the ink, there's the capillary action. You have the fins on the feed. These things here, I don't know if it's focusing or not. I keep forgetting to look through the camera. Probably not. Let's move it down there. Sorry for the blur. Anyway, yeah, and the ink channel. What else? We got, so this is the barrel, the pen barrel, or the body of the pen. Pen cap. Usually on top here there's a filial, like for instance on the TWSBI VAC there's a filial. This would be the filial. Ooh, let's focus down here. So this would be the filial. There's the logo here, and then you have the clip. The section, the grip section, the converter. This happens to be a squeeze converter that came with the pen. Okay, let me try and put this back together. I'm making a mess here. So for this pen, it fits perfectly like so. You can't misalign it. And it's friction fit in there. So the converter, some converter are twist converter. Some of them don't have a twist converter, like an array of different types of twist converters. Let me show you what I mean. So this would be a Waterman converter. So twist it, the piston, and twist it back up, and it fills up with ink. Like a syringe. The VAC, well, I have a video demonstrating the VAC 700 where you open it and pull it. And anyway, not gonna get into that. Let's see. So here are the threads where the barrel threads into the cap. Sorry, what am I saying? The barrel threads into, well, not the barrel, this thing, the section. Thread. I'm losing my words and I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Anyway, so the threads screw into the body. What else? The clip. This is the clip. Nice and springy. Now sometimes people talk about hardware when it comes to the pen, and usually they're referring to the clip or the band or any other decorative item like this bit here, the clip here, here. Let's see what other pen might have heart. This one on the Ahab. This center band here. All the metal chrome part, or golden depending on the pen, might be referred to as the hardware. So now some pens with a piston filler have the piston turning knob, but also have a blind cap. You'll hear people talking about the blind cap. Now, if you don't know what the blind cap is at the bottom here, like with this Conrad. This is a demonstrator pen because it's clear and you can see through it. And vendors used to, when going, well, not the vendors actually, the retailers, the vendors, the providers, the suppliers, when going to the retailers, they would show them how the pen works by bringing in a demonstrator pen, so you can see all the parts of the pen. So this is a piston filling pen. You can see here, that's the blind cap. You unscrew the blind cap, and now you have the piston turning knob. And as you turn the knob, see, it moves the piston up and down, and that draws up the ink into the pen. There you go. Back to our whiskey. If you like whiskey at all, Japanese whiskey is made in the Scotch whiskey tradition, because it was a Scottish man that introduced whiskey into Japan. I'm gonna have to pause this and restart because the 10 minutes of recording are up, and I'll show you how to ink up a fresh pen. So be back in a second. Okay, so to ink up this pen, I'm gonna show you how to ink up a squeeze converter pen. So let me log into this. No. Bloody hell. The zooming business is a mess. Maybe if I lift it up. This seems more focused. Okay, so we're going to go with the Blue Nose Bear ink by Noodler. Now the thing about Noodler bottles of ink, they tend to be usually filled to the brim. I've already used some of this ink, so it's not filled to the brim, but here I'll show you what I mean. See there, it's still pretty filled. So what you're gonna do is take your pen, unscrew the barrel. Make sure you have your trusty ink cloth nearby. And I'm gonna dip the nib of the pen into the bottle all the way up to the section, because I don't know if you can see, there's a little hole here, and that's where move this, see if this is focusing. Anyway, that little hole is where the ink is going to feed up into the converter. Right, let me see here. Yes. And with this type of squeeze converter, you have the ink sac here. That's like a little bladder. When you push on it, it pushes out air and it creates a vacuum, and when you let it go, it just sucks it back up. So you do it a couple of times to get rid of all the air, and you get your ink in. So careful. Notice the bubbles. I'm going to do it 3 times the charm. There we go. So I'm going to take the ink cloth, wipe the nib and the section so you don't get inky fingers. But there's nothing wrong with inky fingers. You will get inky fingers, believe you me. No matter what you do, you will get inky fingers. And now you have your pen inked up and ready to write. So, by the way, this is Sayas type ruling, so it's a French ruling. So let's see. Hello. Nice and inky. As you can see, I got ink all over my fingers from this section here. I told you, no matter what you do, you're going to get inky fingers. Now, if you apply pressure, whoop, there's a hair here. The tines will spread. It's not a nail, but it's not. It's a nice starter pen. It's actually really nice. This is the first time I used this pen. Quite nice. So hope this was informative. Oh, more whiskey. Hope this was informative. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time writing properly with the tripod here. So thank you. Ha. And we'll see you next time when I actually review this pen. Though I should do it now, but I won't. I like it. It's very smooth. Very classy too. I'm really impressed. I'm sorry guys, but I'm really impressed. Great pen. Alright, so have yourself a great day. Cheers.